Good evening and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be speaking about a very controversial subject tonight. Women in the military. I know it was until like recently when we allowed women to actually join combat troops. The problem, though, it was because we did not want women. The main argument that I kept hearing over and over and over and over, again and again, that we don't want women to be taken prisoners. But it looks like the problem we're having is not just women taken prisoners, but actually women being in combat zones with men. I have some statistics here that will blow your mind. It says that 45% of women in the United States Armed Forces have been sexually assaulted. Another report in the American Journal of Industrial Medicine states that 79% who have been harassed, 1/3 of those have been assaulted, and at least 14% have been gang raped by comrades. And many reports from the troops returning from Iraq and Afghanistan authenticate this data. We have a problem. We have a problem in the military. As if we did not know that that problem was going to be there when we forced our female soldiers to go from support positions to combat positions. When a woman answers the call of duty to put her life on the line, that is honorable. That is a person, that is a hero. Someone who took up arms to go and defend and follow the orders of a president is honorable, regardless of how you look at that war. Suzanne Swift, she answered that call. She went to Iraq. Her mother was worried about her. Before she deployed, one of the sergeants told Sara Rich, the mother of Suzanne Swift, "Don't worry about it, ma'am. We will take good care of her." Later on, that sergeant happens to be one of the people who harassed Suzanne. It's a very sad story, and I'm sure Suzanne's story is not the only story, and her story is not the first, and it's not going to be the last. Suzanne at first told her mom that she does not want to talk about it because she does not want to be labeled as a traitor to her country. That's how much this country meant to Suzanne. That she would put her life online. She was a Humvee driver in the streets of Karbala, which means she could have been dead, just like other American men and women who answered the call of duty and went to Iraq. Some of them were blown up to pieces. Sarah was lucky in that regard, but she was not lucky. The Iraqis did not harm her. The Iraqis did not kill her. But it was our own that harmed her and that killed that Suzanne who went to Iraq. And when she came back, she was a totally different person. We have Suzanne Mother with us. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Sarah, tell me, I want to know the story because it's an interesting story in regard that it's horrible what happened to Suzanne. What exactly, take me from when she answered the call, yes, I will go to Iraq, to when she came back. What happened in that period?
Oh, just hearing you recount parts of it actually brought tears to my eyes. It's been a couple of weeks since I've told the story, and when you get some distance from it and you hear somebody else tell it, it just touches your heart. Suzanne decided to go along with her unit and went to Iraq, and she was a Humvee driver doing combat patrol in Karbala. And she, when she got to Kuwait, which is the first place you go to get acclimated to the area, the sergeant that told me, "Don't worry, ma'am, we're going to take good care of your daughter," he asked her if, he said, "Swift, why do you look at me like you always want to," I'm going to say, "have sex with me," but that's not the way he put it. And she looked at him like he'd lost his mind, and in fact told him that, "You've lost your mind, Sergeant," and walked away. The next day, he got her alone in a Humvee and had her driving him around, and he said, "You know, if we go through with this, I might have to be mean to you once in a while, and you can't tell anybody what we're doing, and I just need to make sure that you can keep a secret." And she looked at him, she said, "Sergeant, this is not going to happen." And he said, "Oh, so that's the way you're going to be, huh?" And she said, "That's the way I'm going to be." She then went and told her equal opportunity officer, which is what she was supposed to do, because this is her platoon sergeant. So this is her supervisor's 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 supervisor. He's 5 ranks above her. She is a 19-year-old private, in Iraq. So she tells the equal opportunity officer, and he says that he will talk to command and get back to her, and he never gets back to her. So Suzanne gets 2 messages from that. First is nobody cares, and the second is she's all alone. And that kind of shows her that, that she is, she's in danger. So this other man, who was her squad leader, also a non-commissioned officer, the sergeant, he was kind of protecting her, acting like an uncle, kind of, somebody that watches over her, makes sure that she's okay. And he would say, "Swift, don't talk to that guy. He just wants to have sex with you. Swift, I saw you talking to that guy. Did he want to have sex with you?" And she looked at him as if he was just trying to take care of her. And they get to Iraq, and we're outside of her room talking. And he's telling her about his ruined marriage and how sad his marriage is, and how he needs to have sex. And then he looked at her and he goes, "Swift, why have you been out here talking to me all this time?" And she said, "Well, I don't know, Sergeant. I thought we were just talking." And he grabbed her by the back of the neck and shoves his tongue down her throat. So this is wrong on many levels. First of all, this is her commander. This is the man in a combat zone who has life or death decision over her. He is the one who is responsible to make sure she's fed, that she's clothed, that she's housed. So he's like a parent, and he's her employer. He tells her where to go and what to do. If he tells her to walk across a landmine, she has to do it, or she could be shot. So he coerces her into a sexual relationship because she is so scared of not only being alone, nobody will help her, but being a traitor and telling on him, which you don't do. You don't tell on your fellow soldiers. So she went into this coerced relationship and was so disgusted and humiliated by this going on that she started feeling suicidal.
Okay. Now, is that the same person that she told you one time that he would show up in the middle of the night intoxicated, wanting to have sex with her, and if she said no, she would be punished? And she would tell you, "He's just insane, Mom. He's an insane person, and I'm scared to death"?
That is true. These are all things she said.
Is that the same person you're talking about?
This is the same person. I call him the molester. That's what I always called him all through her deployment. I always said, "What's molester? What's molester up to?" Because that's how I referred to him. I thought he was a molester.
Okay.
So,
Now, let me ask you this. Did she tell you that other female soldiers are going through very much the same thing that she went through?
no. Something that happens with female soldiers is they are not encouraged to be friends. In fact, they are pitted against each other in many ways, because if they bond together, then the men, see them as they're homosexuals, or, so the women pretty much stay away from each other. And this man had control over whether Suzanne had a roommate or not, and made sure that she was accessible to him at all times.
Okay. And after 1 year, Suzanne came back, and she was supposed to be off for 18 months, I believe, but they actually asked her to come back sooner and wanted to send her back to Iraq?
They were going to redeploy her to Iraq 11 months after she returned.
And what happened then?
Well, I said, well, I told her, I said, that's not okay. Let's call our congressmen, let's call our senators. And she said, no, Mom, I can do it. I can handle this. I can go back. I'm okay. And I said, oh, all right, and I just stood back and watched. And they were out on a training mission, right, probably 2 or 3 weeks before the second deployment, and a male sergeant raped a male specialist. And they had to do this sex abuse prevention training, and the man that was raped was in there, and he started crying. And Suzanne called me, and she said, Mom, you're never going to, believe what just happened. And she told me about this, and I think this kind of stimulated all of the stuff that she had already been through. So she came home to say goodbye to everybody before her second deployment. She was packed and ready to go back to Fort Lewis to redeploy. And she had her keys in her hands, and she turned to me in the kitchen and said, Mom, I don't think I can do it. And I looked at her, and I said, really? And she goes, I can't go back there. And I said, good, let's get you out of there. Because I knew what she'd went through. I knew all the pain and all the suffering and all the abuse. And I didn't want her going there, for that reason alone.
Okay. Now,
so she went AWOL.
Okay. Now, when she came back, we're going to come back to when she went AWOL. Now, when she came back, there was an incident that took place at where she went reporting for duty here in the United States, and she was asking, I guess, her commander or whoever, where would I report? And he said, to my bed.
In my bed, naked.
Or in my bed. Tell me about that story.
Sure. So Suzanne got back from Iraq, the first deployment, and I said, now can we do something about molester? Now that you're safe, you're safe, you're home on U.S. soil, can we do something? She said, no, Mom, I don't want to do it. I'd be a traitor. This man is psycho. I have to redeploy with this group. I don't want to do anything. And I said, okay, I just will step back and, support you. And she got put into a different unit and had a new team leader. And this team leader kept calling her in the middle of the night, are you wearing underwear? Are you naked? What are you doing? And then one evening she went and asked him, she said, Sergeant, where do I report in the morning? Because he needs to tell her where to report to work.
Okay.
And he said to her, in my bed naked. So what happened then is she went and reported it.
And what happened?
And
what did the Army do with all that?
What did they do with it?
Yeah, what did the Army do? Did they take any action?
Yeah, they took action. They interrogated Suzanne. They treated her like it was her fault. They told her to look up the word honesty in the dictionary. They did role-playing with her to show her exactly what to do and, with people that did, that harassed people. And she said, that's the stuff I already did. Do you have something else? And so they basically punished her, and the worst part was she was treated like a traitor for months afterwards by her unit because she told on one of her fellow soldiers.
Now, did the Army do any investigations as far as to what Suzanne was saying? Did they go back and get the sergeant who committed this horrible crime with Suzanne, or they did not?
Are you talking about the one in Iraq or the one
right.
in...
Any one of them.
No, they did not. They did not do anything about the ones in Iraq. Immediately, they did the investigation here and wrote a letter admonishing the man and sent him to a different unit.
Okay. Now, have you, since this story came out, have you been in contact with, or did anybody contact you with similar stories? Other female soldiers with similar stories have contacted you? Is there a group for support? Like if somebody's going through this, is there a place where they can turn to?
There have been hundreds and hundreds of people that have contacted us. Hundreds of women, many men have contacted us saying this happened to them. But there's quite a few different resources, and we are compiling them all on Suzanne's website because we're turning Suzanne's website into kind of a support area for people that have been sexually abused in the military.
Okay. Now, tell me, what does Suzanne think? Well, let's go back, not what she thinks now, but before she went to Iraq. Was she thinking, I'm doing this for my country and I'm all gung-ho about it, or was she reluctant?
She wasn't reluctant at all. She was scared, but she went to boot camp in her training, and she was all Army. This is my country. We're going to go do the right thing. She was not scared of. She did not. No, she was ready to go. She didn't have any.
Okay. Now, did she, after she came back the first year, did she have any opinion, a different opinion as far as like what we are doing in Iraq?
Well, she did on some level, but she also didn't. I mean, she was pretty much just in survival mode, trying to get through the post-traumatic stress of having been in a combat zone and having been raped.
Now, tell me health-wise about Suzanne. When she came back, tell me about her health, because I know she went through a lot of problems trying to cope with what happened. Tell me what took place there.
With her post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yes,
what you're talking about?
Yes.
What happens, what I've seen in my relationship, having a family member that has post-traumatic stress disorder, you just have to walk on eggshells because you never know what's going to set them off. One minute they're crying, the next minute they're laughing. They hear a loud noise, they're crouching in the corner. They start crying for no reason. It's very hard to navigate in relationship with somebody that has post-traumatic stress disorder, and that was very true of Suzanne when she got back.
Now, do you think that post-traumatic stress disorder? Do you think that was the cause of that was the war, or was it what took place in her life with her supposedly comrades?
I definitely believe it's a combination.
It's a combination of the two. Did she see any combat while she was there? Was she in a combat zone?
Oh yeah. She was shot at. Her Humvee was shot at. She had people being shot, literally shot while she was driving the Humvee.
Okay. And so she decided to go AWOL. Take me from there.
Okay, so she went AWOL, and the first thing we did was we got an attorney because she wasn't deserting. She was just didn't want to go back to Iraq. She was too scared. And then we got a psychologist who diagnosed her with post-traumatic stress disorder, and we called the GI Rights hotline because we were scared to death. We didn't know what was going to happen, if they were going to break down our door and take her, which they eventually did. So she went into hiding for 6 months and went and lived on the coast because, I'm a foster parent. I couldn't have her living here. So she went away and was living somewhere else and still seeing her psychologist, and we were paying the attorney to start working with Fort Lewis to get her to turn herself in and hopefully get a discharge.
Now, I'm curious. She did not, I probably asked you this question before. She did not want to go back to Iraq because she did not want to go back to the war, or because she was afraid of what will happen to her physically from the guys around her? What was the reason for her not going back to Iraq?
Honestly, it wasn't really a decision. It was a fight or flight reaction, because she had her keys in her hand. She had sent all of her belongings ahead with the unit. She was going back. She was ignoring all of the political aspects of it, and she was going back. And when it came down to the keys in the hand, her eyes were as big as saucers, and she looked at me and she says, "I can't do it." And honestly, I really think it's a combination of not wanting to be in combat and not wanting to fend off all these predators.
Okay. And you said that you had been hundreds of people contacted you who have went through this.
Yes.
Is there actually, if there's like a support group for people who have been through that? Is there a support group for that?
There's not an official support group. There's different foundations. Women Organizing Women is one that helps women deal with stress from the military. STAMP is another one. These are all linked on Suzanne's website, so people can check out Suzanne's website. And then there's the Miles Foundation is another one but we haven't had any contact with them.
Okay. So you hired an attorney, and what happened?
The attorney kept being stonewalled by the military. The military said, we do not make deals with AWOL soldiers. And we kept trying to negotiate a turn-in so she could turn herself in, but we were also waiting until she was strong enough, because she was pretty much an emotional wreck for months after she went AWOL.
Okay.
And Fort Lewis refused to do that. Then they sent a warrant out for her arrest, and the police found her at our home in June and arrested her and took her away in handcuffs.
And what happened?
Then they took her to jail, where she sat there for a couple of days, and then they took her back to Fort Lewis and put her under the same command of the platoon sergeant who was trying to have sex with her in Iraq.
Did she say, "Look, this is the guy that I'm running away from"? Did you all try to?
Yep.
Yes.
They did, and they got a no contact order with him, so he wasn't allowed to have contact. But he would show up at her work all the time and just stare at her.
So let me get this right. It's the same guy that had forced himself on her in Iraq. They put her working underneath him, knowing that she has a problem with him.
Different guy. This is the initial guy that tried to have a sexual relationship.
One of them.
But
One of them.
Right. And they did not know at that point. She told them immediately, though, and they moved her to a different place.
Oh, okay, so they moved her to a different place.
Yeah.
Okay. And then she went to court, I assume?
Yeah, she got court-martialed, but they waited for months. They didn't court-martial her for 6 months. They waited and drew it out, and we had to spend about $15,000 in attorney fees.
Okay, and what did the court-martial, what was the decision?
They stripped her of all her rank and put her in prison for 30 days.
Okay. Now, she came out of jail, and now she's doing some type of training back with the Army?
Yep, she has been trying to get a discharge from the Army, and they refused to allow her to go, even though she has post-traumatic stress disorder. She talked to her psychiatrist before she went to Fort Lee, Virginia, up in Fort Lewis, Dr. Candy, and Dr. Candy told her, it's obvious that you do not want to get well, is what they told Suzanne. And good luck at Fort Lee. And sent her off to Fort Lee, where she's been for the last couple months.
Did you try to get some private help for her, like private psychiatrist for her?
Yes, she did. When she was in Fort Lewis, she was seeing a private psychologist that the Army refused to pay for. So Suzanne is, we've been paying for it out of our own pocket.
So did this private psychiatrist have a different opinion than the Army psychiatrist that told her that obviously you don't want to get help?
Yeah, she has a very different opinion, and he and Suzanne had a very good working relationship, which is one of the reasons that, we wanted her to be out of the military so she could stay home and get well.
So how much longer does she have to stay in the military? Another couple of more years or so?
January 2009.
2009.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how long did she sign up for? 10 years?
She signed up for 5 years because they told her that if she signed up to be a military police officer, she would have to sign up for 5 years. And the good thing about being a military police officer is they do not deploy to combat zones.
Okay. And so what happened? I mean, if she wants to leave, is there like jail time and then you go out, or what happens? What's her options besides remaining in the Army? Nothing?
No, there's no other option. They won't release her, and she could go AWOL again and then go back to prison. Eventually, she could go to Canada, but Canada is not taking people, not taking our AWOL combat soldiers either.
I mean, is she thinking about that now? I mean, I don't want to get her secrets out, but I mean, is she, like, she does not want to be in the Army?
She does not want to be in the Army. She thought about it. She thought about running again. But then she just put her head down and decided to stay in. Because, when all is said and done, Suzanne is an honorable, good soldier. She wants to do what, she signed up to do this. She signed up to be a soldier. She was serious about it. So she stayed. She doesn't want to break the law. She doesn't want to,
Sarah, we have been talking about Suzanne all this time, but we have not talked about you as a mother who sees her little girl go through this. How was, I'm sure you probably have traumatic experience with this. Tell me about you. Were you able to handle this?
This has been one of the hardest 3 years of my life. Definitely the hardest time of my life. This has been excruciating to see my daughter in so much pain. Yeah, it's been really hard, and just now in the last couple of months, since she's not in crisis, have I been able to relax and focus on my other children. It's been pretty much, save Suzanne since she left for Iraq. And then she came home and she was suffering. It's been really hard. It's really hard to be a military mom watching your child being abused by your own U.S. soldiers.
It's hard to send your kids to war when they're defending their country, much less when they are being attacked by their own. I think that's probably people can accept death in combat zones, but not being attacked by your own in the way that Suzanne have been attacked. Do you have any other children?
Yes, I do. Sonia and Jake are younger than Suzanne. Suzanne's the oldest.
Any of them thinking of joining the Army?
No. In fact, they will hang up on people, on recruiters that call the house. And they laugh at them. They said, no, my sister went to Iraq and you let her be raped. I'm not going to join the military. They don't have any desire.
I'm wondering, Suzanne was in a combat zone, and these guys, they're really stupid because, this is a woman with a gun that you are messing with, and it sure, does not take long or much to blow someone's head off in that situation. Sarah, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on the program, and hopefully no mother and no female soldier, and actually no male soldier, no one will have to go through what Suzanne and other soldiers have been through. And I think it's time that the Army looks at its policies, and basically, we don't really, when you just pick up people who were in the reserves, trained on the weekends sometimes, and also with the recruiting policies that we have, they're even taking criminals and sending them into a war zone. I think that's the problem the military is having, because we just don't care anymore about who we are sending on the battle zone. Sarah, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is a sad, sad story, but Suzanne is not the first one, and she's not going to be the last one. You know, how would you feel if, you send in your daughters to war, and the only thing you're worried about is someone's going to shoot at them? Are they going to die in battle? Not even thinking, and as Sara Rich, when she was told by the sergeant who ended up attacking her daughter when they got to Iraq, told her that, don't worry, ma'am, we will take good care of her. And as a matter of fact, one of them, she was private, and one of these sergeants said, you are my private. Is this the Army? Is this what we have? Where did we go wrong? And Suzanne's story, now I asked Sarah if she had heard from others, and I know hundreds of stories of like this. This is why this is not an isolated story, and we did not decide to talk about Suzanne's story on this show because it was only one isolated story. No. As a matter of fact, I had invited someone last week to come and talk on this show, and I believe her name was Sarah Benedict, if I'm not mistaken, and she's writing a book about problems with female soldiers, sexual harassment in the Army, in combat zones, in Iraq. And she was Jewish. She did not, after she said that she will be coming on the program, I guess she saw that we are very critical of the war, and we are very critical of Israel's role in the Middle East. She decided she does not want to come on the program, which is fine. I respect everybody's opinion. We are very critical of the war because it is the wrong war. We went there for the wrong reasons. They lied to us, and they took us to a war. But that's not the issue here. The issue here is, who do we trust when we send our daughters to go in that combat zone? Shall we say we hope maybe the Iraqis would take them in prisoners? Because maybe they will be sitting in a jail cell, protected? Because definitely Suzanne Swift was calling her mom often, crying because of what was taking place with her. The sergeant would show up at her door drunk, intoxicated, and he would force himself on her. Who is to protect our protectors? Because that's what Suzanne was when she went to Iraq. She wanted to protect, and she believed in the orders that she received, that it was good for America, and we are going there to destroy the enemy. An enemy that we still have no clue of who they are, or where they are, or what they are. But we felt a need that we go there to the Middle East and destroy Iraq and fuel this sectarian violence at a time when we cannot even offer protection for our own female soldiers from our own guys. From our own guys. And what Suzanne said, there was only one guy that tried to protect her. There was only one guy. And she told her mom that he was the only one that she felt he was loyal to his wife. Okay? Now, don't you think wives in the United States and husbands in the United States have enough to worry about when their spouses are in a war zone? Don't you think their lives have been wrecked to having to deal with yet another issue of our own making? Because we don't want to face what is happening in front of our eyes? Because this is the society that we find ourselves in? That it's okay? It's acceptable? It's the norm? Or maybe in some instances it's the right thing for men to behave? Are we doing wrong? Are we going, where did we go wrong? Is it in recruiting? Because you do know we can't even get people to join. Even with all the bonuses we given them, they don't want to join. They don't want to have anything to do with the Army. So we're basically taking anyone that comes, we reduced our standards. We're not even asking them about drugs anymore. So we have drug addicts, alcoholics who go over there, and guess what? They're used to the easy life over here. So you better provide easy life for them over there. If you want to go and fight wars overseas, you better provide for those guys everything they need, or they're going to turn on their own. I'm not suggesting anything out there. Maybe a little bit of education might help. Maybe a little bit of punishment, severe punishment for those that are caught doing this. And maybe we need to start listening to what female soldiers say, and maybe we need to start listening to their concerns. You know, what are you going to do about any of this stuff that we talk about? Any of this stuff that we have been talking about for the last 5 years, and I might add, we have been proven to be right on everything that we have talked about. Since we went there and attacked Iraq, we have been explaining to you exactly what took place and what went on. Some of you, of course, called us all kind of name, but now you do know that mainstream media is basically talking same stuff that we're talking. Same thing. What can you do about it? Well, I don't know, but you better find out what your purpose in life. You know, most of us have a purpose in life. Actually, all of us have a purpose in life. You were born for a reason. The unfortunate thing is the majority of us go through this life without even realizing or even noticing what their purpose in life is. Do you know what your purpose in life is? Do you know why were you born? What effect are you going to have on other human beings? What effect are you going to have on other lives? The lives of the people around you? That's your purpose. If you can figure that out, then you have achieved it. At least once you know your purpose, you'll know what to do with it. But the sad thing is, most of you out there don't even know what your purpose is. It's that one thing that you were born to do. That one thing. That's your purpose. It's that one thing that deep down inside you say, my purpose in life is. And if you can figure that out, at least you have achieved the first step or stage that millions of people or billions of people, they go through this life without even realizing what their purpose in life is. Suzanne Swift's purpose in life, she did not know, and a lot of times we don't know what our purpose in life. To some of us it comes, whoa, listen, my purpose is I want to do 1, 2, 3. I want to help people. I want to affect the lives of other people. That's a purpose. Now, how are you going to do about doing that? That's for you to figure out. Sometimes with people like Suzanne Swift, she probably did not know what her purpose was. Definitely she was not. Her purpose was not to go in a war and be a toy for other soldiers. That was not her purpose. What is your purpose? How will you affect the lives of those around you? And I don't mean the lives of those around you as your immediate family or your friends. No. I'm talking about what is it that you are going to do. For instance, let me just give you some examples so you'll see. The guy that started Microsoft, for instance, that's her purpose. That's his purpose. He found his purpose in life. I think now you're getting this much, much clearer. But if you go through life and you don't know what your purpose is, might as well forget about it. Don't even try to think hard of what your purpose is. But I can tell you that if you want to affect the lives of a lot of people right here and over there, you have got to take action. You've got to start somewhere. You can't just be flipping through the channels and saying, oh, this is interesting, this is not interesting, this is boring, this is not, no. You have got to take charge of your own life and affect positively, not negatively. Because I'm sure other people are affecting the lives of other people in a negative way, like these sergeants who are forcing themselves on Suzanne. What is your purpose? And how can you, as one single man, affect the lives of others? We have a war going on. We have an unjust war going on. They have defined the enemy to us as terrorism. Most terrorists who are fighting us, and I'm using that word and that phrase loosely because that is the term that our government is using, the majority of them were not even there before we went and attacked Iraq. We went and attacked Iraq for the wrong reasons. We went and attacked Iraq so we can, number one, we did it for Israel. Israel is the only winner in this. Israel was able, due to our own inability to understand our own political systems and how our political systems are run, because we didn't understand how it works, somebody else understood how it works and used it. They paid for it. The best government that money can buy is right here in the United States, and it's for the highest bidder. Somebody paid for it. And we ended up paying for it, all of us. Suzanne Swift paid for it. Sara Rich paid for it. You paid for it even if you did not have any loved ones going to Iraq. because that $1 trillion that we are spending there, it's coming out of your pocket and my pocket. And you get idiots, these talking heads, who still, if you hear someone saying war on terror, that's an idiot that you need to turn the TV off, because there's no war on terror. There is no war on terror. Terrorism is an idea, and we cannot fight an idea. One thing we can start with is investigate what happened on 9/11. If we know what happened on 9/11, then we know why we went to war, because we went to war and we agreed with our government to go to war because of what happened on 9/11, because they lied to us. They said Saddam had links to Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is the one that committed 9/11. But we know that's not true. We know that turned out to be false. And they knew it was false, by the way. Don't believe George Bush when he says, oh, that was the intelligence he got. No. No, no, no. He had the right intelligence. He knew that Saddam Hussein could not even feed his own children. 500,000, that's 500,000 people. 500,000 children, Iraqi children, died. From 1992 until 2001, when we went and attacked Iraq. 500,000 children died because of malnutrition. They could not feed their own children. But yet, before the war, we made them be this huge Hitler. How many times you heard that word? He's the next Hitler in the Middle East. How many times have you heard that? How many times you heard the weapons of mass destruction, that Saddam wants to take over the Middle East and then come here? How many times you have heard, and I've heard this more than one time, we need to go kill them on their streets before they can come here and kill us on our streets? How many times have you heard that? A lot, because that's exactly how the army was indoctrinating our boys and girls, that we need to go kill them on their streets before they come and kill us on our streets. How in the hell they're going to come and kill us on our streets when they could not even feed their own kids? What is your purpose? What is your purpose? How can you affect the lives of millions of people? And you can. A lot of people did it before. Hey, Freedom, go ahead.
Dr. Tillawi, I have a serious problem trying to figure this out. It appears that anybody who doubts the 9/11 Commission reports, like say a Charlie Sheen or Rosie O'Donnell, Fox, people like Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh just trying to get these people fired from their job. You mean to tell me in a free country we cannot question what happened on 9/11 without the Nazis like Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh start calling for people to be fired from their jobs? Could you please explain why in a free society we can't get to the bottom of 9/11?
Hold on.
Thanks very much.
Okay, all right. Free society? What free society? What free society when you are being bombarded 24 hours a day with these talk show hosts that are telling you nothing but lies? What free society? What free society when the media, that's supposed to be a freedom of press and free press, it is not free? This is free press. But can I claim that there are 12 million people watching me tonight? No, I can't. Free society? And yes, these people, O'Reilly, Rush Limbaugh, the one that I really can't understand how people are still listening to him, and they call him and say, oh, Sean, you are a great American. What? Sean Hannity. At least O'Reilly, with his lies, he is progressing. He understands the psyche of people out there, so he's putting different twists on what he's saying. But this idiot, Sean Hannity, he's still doing the same thing he did 3 and 4 years ago. No, we don't have terrorists in Iraq killing us. We are killing them. And by the way, now that the Shiites have entered the fight, and I told you this before, I said the Sunnis are the ones that are fighting in Iraq. They are the resistance in Iraq. They are the insurgency in Iraq. And those foreign fighters, by the way, that people are talking about, or our government made them to be the only foreign fighters, no. Actually, these foreign fighters, they don't want them. The resistance does not want them in Iraq. So they can leave. Adios, goodbye. Go back to where you came from, and there's only very, very few of them, not a lot. Now, the Shiites have gotten into the fight. 20,000 surge? What in the heck are you going to do with 20,000? Nothing. It's just going to be more targets for the other guys to shoot at. And what kills me is when they start saying, the bad guys. What bad guys? How do we know who's the bad guy in this? Oh, well, we are Americans. We're the good guys. How do you know that? What the heck are we doing over there? And I've been asking this for a long time. What the heck are we doing there? Now, we need to save everybody's lives. Of course, we went there. We destroyed the country. There is nothing we can do. And you know what I heard this stupid O'Reilly saying a couple of days ago? He's really stupid. Oh, well, the Iraqis don't want to listen. They want to listen to what? To an occupation? No. How do you think we would listen if the Russians come and invade us here? Oh, those Americans, they don't want to listen. Listen to what? They want us out. And I think we should be out. Now, the question is, it's not what I think. The question is it the right thing after you went in there, destroyed the country, got these two people by design to be on each other's throat, and we say, oh, you know what? You don't want to listen? So we're out of here. That's one solution. Is that the right solution? No. 655,000 people dead. And you are responsible for them. Because you are an American citizen. And we are supposed to have a representative government. That means those in Washington represent us. And when you own a company and you send your representatives out in the field, you are responsible for what they do. Are you responsible for what they do? If you are, then you need to put their feet to the fire. That's your purpose. If you've been looking all your life, looking for what your purpose in life, your purpose in life is to get this country back to what it was. The country that most people overseas looked at and said, I want to go to America. Okay? Now they're saying, we don't want to go to America. 200 years, over 200 years reputation. We built that reputation. We lost that. Overnight. With a stupid decision from a guy who destroyed every darn company that he owned or was given to him. He did not really work hard for it. He bankrupted every company, and yet we put him twice. What is your purpose? You need to know that. I can only tell you, but I can't make you. And if you don't know what your purpose in life, you might want to think about it. And hopefully, you will find it. Go do the right thing, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week. Good night.